So hello everyone, this is the Sports Show podcast, and today we're joined with George Hardwick. How are you, mate?
I'm good. Just
Brilliant.
watched John Wick 2 again.
Brilliant.
It's an important film in my life.
So we'll just get started, mate. What got you into MMA and fighting in general?
I'm just turning this off because it's making loads of fucking noise.
No worries.
Well, so when I was younger, I just kind of realised I wasn't really doing much. I'd go to school and then spend about 5 to 6 hours on the PS2, just playing Devil May Cry 3, Resident Evil 4, just playing that for hours and then I'd get home from school, play until I go to bed, wake up and then go to school. Kind of realised I wasn't doing anything, so, at that point, a demo for UFC Undisputed 2009 came out. I thought, that's sick. I want to do some of that. There wasn't really any MMA close for the age I was. I was like 12. But there was Thai boxing. I could get in the Thai boxing classes. So I did Muay Thai and I competed in Muay Thai for a few years. And then one of my coaches split from that gym. I just started MFA when I was about 15.
Brilliant. And you obviously had a good amateur career. Do you think that made the decision to go professional even better for you?
Yeah, because when I first started, I was like, this is what I want to do with my life. And I was like, balls deep in my amateur career, was turning pro. And that was when I got an injury, dislocated my elbow. I think because I must have spent hours and hours and hours in my sweaty gear, in like covered in sweat, whatever. I just got a bunch of skin infections from that. I couldn't really wash myself properly because I was morphined up. I got a bunch of skin infections from that, and then that took a while to recover. I had a bit of a mental block with the injury. I was kind of like, I don't want to do throws and stuff if I can completely dislocate something. Spend a lot of time just doing calisthenics as my training. And I only really got back into MMA when I watched John Wick 2. Because he does like judo throws and judo stuff. And, I just had a myriad of skin problems for a year and a half. So I kind of thought, well, if I'm in gi, it's not like a lot of skin on skin contact. And then I did gi like once a week Friday, then like twice a week. And then I stopped doing gi because I just wanted to do MMA again. And it was literally like 3 or 4 months. I fought my first pro fight after watching John Wick 2. I had like 2 years of no MMA. And then I got back fighting pro within 3 months of coming back. And it was just John Wick 2.
Brilliant. You obviously had made your pro debut then, and you have 4 fights. You went 4-0. And you went Cage Warriors got a hold of you then, and you fought on an unfortunate loss on decision. How did that make you feel? Did you want to just get straight in, pounce back again, get the win?
Well, yeah, and it wasn't an unfortunate loss. It's been the best learning experience of my career. Since then, I've just gone on a streak. Because Madas is such a tough opponent, and I was buzzing to see him get the win on the same night, on a few weeks back. And it was just a really horrendous hard fight. Went the full 3 rounds, gritty. I was tired and I took a lot of shots. But what made me realise I love it so much is that I was back in the gym Monday morning at 9. So I had the big fight on Saturday, a bit of a war, and got a curry later that night, chilled out Sunday, and then it was back to training Monday. I was like, well, kind of have to do that with my life. And since I fought Madas, I've never stepped into the cage and felt fear of anyone.
Yeah.
I fought upper weight class, fighting Madas at welterweight, and I've dropped down to lightweight, and I've not seen anyone that's given me any kind of like fear like that.
Yeah. And then one thing I wanted to ask you, because I was doing a wee bit of research on your past fights. You fought your first fight for Cage Warriors, and then you went to Bellator, and then back to Cage Warriors. So what was that all about there?
Well, I fought in Cage Warriors. I wasn't like signed to a multi-fight at that point. And then just the opportunity came up for like a 3 weeks notice fight at 180 pounds against Richard Keeley in Dublin. It was just like a late notice thing that, was through contacts with my coach, Peter Irvin. And I just thought, yeah, I'll step into that. I don't, he's bigger, but Richard Keeley, he just looked like clumsier for it. So stepped into fight then. Pretty routine fight. Took him down, grappled him, choked him. Had another fight with Nicola Solly. That was just, again, they had a bunch of fighters that on contract they wanted to get a fight for. So I stepped in to fight Solly, and that was during COVID, during the height of the pandemic. We had to spend like a week in the hotels, just quarantined basically, before going to the fight. And then again, no one was really sure what Bellator Europe was doing at that point, because they had a whole Euro Series thing going, and they've kind of scrapped that, and they just do the odd event in London sometimes or in Dublin. I didn't know how reliable it was, so Cage Warriors was the most reliable at getting fights. Because what I wanted at that point, especially during COVID, because it was all a mess, everything was like topsy-turvy. What I wanted more than anything was a schedule of competition. Just because that's the thing about fighting, is you never get a schedule. Whereas I wanted that. I wanted to think, I'm fighting this event. When I have this fight, when's the next one? When's the next one? And I'd never had that throughout my career until I got to Cage Warriors.
Yeah. And just as you said there about lockdown, that's what I was about to talk about next. How did you sort of find your experience with training? Obviously going to fights and having to stay in the hotel for a few days, just as you said.
So in terms of training, there was like a month where we took it all serious, and then I had the mats on the patio, and me and Harry were just kind of like doing drills, hitting pads, scrapping with each other a bit, because we were doing each other's heads in a bit in lockdown. And then we just kind of like sneaky opened the gym up just to the fighters.
Yeah.
Just like sneaky sessions in the gym, just shut the door. No one's really asked. It's not some dafty metropolitan city. It's down some grim alley in Middlesbrough. So no one was really caring about, like COVID enforcers were looking down the alley seeing what we were doing. So it was just pretty much normal training for a lot of that. In terms of the fight, that was an interesting experience, getting like a week in the hotel quarantined. It was just trying to find ways to pass the time before the fight and not burning myself out pacing about the hotel room. I think there will have been a lot of fighters in that situation who will have just been antsy, paced about the hotel room, shadowboxed, just felt like they had to do something to keep themselves busy and knackered themselves out. Whereas I had a good grip and just like keeping the energy level at the right point.
Yeah, and just as you said there about your brother Harry, you were doing different sessions during lockdown. How sort of helpful has he been in your career? Because you are both close, and as you said there before we started the podcast, you were doing his corner at one of his Cage Warriors fights.
Well, yeah, it's like he is. We're almost like a bit inseparable as people in some ways. It's like I couldn't see a career without Harry in MMA. Yeah, I just couldn't see it.
Yeah, that just shows how sort of special he is to your career as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, he is the most important human to me in the world.
Yep. And we'll just go on to whenever you fought Cage Warriors 1, 2, 4 against Dean Truman, the deathly body shot. We'll just say, what a finish. How did it feel just to get back on track, get the win again, and yeah, that's whenever your streak started to happen?
Oh, shit. I just noticed it was getting a bit dark. So yeah, that fight was that was an interesting one, because that was probably the most validated opponent I'd fought at that point. He was a former champion. I'd had a little bit of time off just due to the lack of fights due to COVID, because I fought Solly and there'd been that bit of time, so I did have a bit of self-doubt in that one, but I'd prepared really well. Yeah, it was quite like validating, because he was a former champ. In terms of the finish, when it happened, it was just like, the thing about a good liver shot, just any good shot that you land that's like a knockout shot, shouldn't feel like a lot of effort. Like, it just felt right. The arm just was loose. Just let the hips and the body do the work, and it just snapped in. So I just kind of like walked up to the cameras and shouted that pizza line.
That's exactly. I was going to mention that at the very end, but we'll get on to that. I have a wee question for you about it. But then you had 2 more fights after that before the big one, the title shot. What was it like to get the opportunity, obviously, to fight for the lightweight title, first of all, before even winning
it? So I first got the message that I'm going to fight for the lightweight title. It was like It was the same night as that UFC card in Vegas where there was loads of UK fighters, like Paddy fought Ben Dramini, Molly McCann fought, a bunch of UK fighters fought. I think it was during Paddy's walkout I got that message. And that was to fight Mehdi Ben Lakhdar originally. That was like 6 weeks' notice. Obviously, that pulled on the day. Got another Italian lad to fight, and then he got fucking involved in dodgy shit.
Well,
Then I had to fight Capera in the meantime. So it just kind of like it built up a long time. There was a lot of excitement first, and I just kind of like pushed it down a bit just so I could train and keep like a focused fucking in the right way where I'm not burning myself out. I'm just continually getting better and better and better. And the thing, I took that Capera fight, which wasn't for the belt, but that was just a massively valuable experience by the time I fought Kyle. Because it was in the same venue. That's something, if you fought in the same venue before, that's where you get used to the feel of the place and like the back rooms, the layout of it. It just gives you that little bit extra experience on it.
Yep. And then obviously, what was going through your head as soon as obviously the finish, and we could see your emotions obviously after winning it. What was going through your head at that stage?
So it's like I knocked him down twice. In the third round when I knocked him down, I wasn't thinking about the finish at that point. It just came out of nowhere. Because it's not a conscious thought to throw that body shot. It was just like, it's just through training and repetition. It just happened. And there wasn't really any conscious thought, but that like made the feeling that I'm pushing towards the finish. He landed good shots after that, but I've got a really good sense. Pete was saying this in the warm-up, that I've got a really good sense for when someone's just hit that tipping point where they're about to break, and then I'm just methodically pushing more and more and more at the right amount just to break them. And I could feel that just in the way he was carrying his stance. So I felt the belt coming more and more like close to the point where I knocked him down the second time, and each punch I'm throwing, it was like a surreal moment. I was like, this is my belt. Yeah. And I could see Mark Goddard in the corner of my eye just getting closer and closer and closer. And it was like the moment he just put his hand on me just to stop the fight, that was when I just started screaming, it's my fucking belt! I'm like, screaming all high-pitched and weeby and anime-like. But yeah, it's like the first knockdown, I didn't really feel anything. It just happened. But it was the second knockdown, because I got the sense of him breaking. He fought back hard after the first one, but it was at the expense of his energy levels. Like, he didn't recover from it. He shot that big takedown. I just circled him back to the fence. The second one, it was like, I could feel it coming in. It was like on Sekiro, where you're fighting some ridiculously hard boss and you're breaking their posture bar. And you break the posture bar and you're like, oh my god, that's the death blow. Fucking yeah. It was like that.
Brilliant. And we'll move on to what do you want next? What's the plan for you now? I don't know if you're one for calling out opponents, but what do you think?
Well, for me, it's either UFC or Figlak. That's what makes sense. Figlak's the best of the fighter in the division, and he's been proving that. He's been active and winning. I have to respect that. I'm either defending it, or if a UFC opportunity comes up. That's it. I haven't really thought about it too much. I just want to compete again towards the back end of the year.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say next. Or go ahead there. Were you going to say something else?
Because obviously I've been asked that question a lot. Is it UFC next, or are you fighting Figlak, or what have you? It's like, I like both. But, I don't... I just have a thought when I want to fight, which is now I want to fight towards the back end of the year. Maybe late November, December. I know they've got events going on there in Cage Warriors. There's a potential for... I don't know how it works, really, getting into the UFC. I've got really good managers, and I'll just leave it up to them. But, people ask me about my career, and it's my career. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to the gym now. See you later.
Yep, and that's what I was going on to next, UFC. So that's obviously going to be your goal. So are you expecting, are your hopes to go to the UFC by the end of November time, or is that... What do you
either that or defend the belt. I just want to compete.
Just either one, you don't have mind?
It's... I don't know, it's like I can't think too far in the future, which I think it's probably if I was a proper adult trying to balance a proper life with all sorts, yeah, I reckon that would be a detriment to me. But I think in the position I'm in now, where luckily thanks to my sponsors that are just doing above and beyond, like JMac, everyone, they're just going above and beyond to help. And between that and teaching people, I'm set up in a way where I can just kind of focus on fighting. And in that sense, I don't have to think that far in the future. I just think to the next training session.
Yeah.
Which means I'm continually improving instead of like stressing and worrying about everything.
Yeah. And lastly, just before we go, we'll move on to this pizza stuff, let's say. So you were fighting, obviously, the Cage Warriors 124, deadly body shot, and you went straight up to the cameras, and you should have give this man a pizza. What was that all about?
See, because like we weighed in the day before, me and Harry got some pasta, pretty like sound stuff in terms of nutrition, just carving up. Got a little pizza on the side, not with any crazy toppings or anything, just a little pizza, just to have the taste. And it's a bit of salt, it's a bit of carbs. It's not the worst thing to eat at that point, like. And then his team walked past, and they're like, "Oh, you're on the pizza, boys." Like Dean Truman says that. It's kind of snarky, and it's kind of like you don't take this seriously because you're eating pizza. And I'm like, I've just fucking killed myself for months and months training for this. I kill myself all the time training, like whether I've got a fight or not. I can have one slice of pizza. It's not going to do fuck all. But anyway, I offer him a slice and he turns it down, which, you don't do that where I'm from. And that was just, it just came out when I got the body shot. Like, get this man a pizza. But the thing is, people knew me for the pizza thing, but it's the chicken parmo that is the top-notch scran. The chicken parmo is my main scran. That is the Borough regional dish. The chicken parmo is the main and like a pizza's the side.
Yeah, and nobody actually knows this, but a few days ago I texted you about getting a photo. Would you like a specific photo? Either the one with a belt, or else you sent me one with you with a pizza. And here, it's up to you. Whatever one you want, I don't mind.
Maybe collage them or something. But what topping there? I got like a hot shot pizza, which is like pepperoni, jalapeno, mushrooms, onions, and peppers and stuff, like chili flakes, like a proper spicy pizza. And I'm just like sat there rubbing my hands together, and I notice my girlfriend's taking pictures of me. I'm like, oh, like I'm just in my own zone, rubbing my hands together, ready for a pizza.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. Either or collage or whatever.
Brilliant.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much, mate, for coming on. I really appreciate it, and I wish you all the best for the future, whether it's the defending the belt or the UFC. I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you for having me.
All right, no worries, mate. See you later.
See you later.
Cheers.